Hi guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kyra, and here on my channel we're all about real makeup for real life and real people. I like to share with you how to make color easy to play with and just have fun. So today's video is all about eyeshadow palettes. I love talking about eyeshadow and I can't wait to share with you my top 10 eyeshadow palettes for fall. These palettes may not read fall to everyone, but for me they're either palettes that I look forward to using in the fall or that I am looking forward to using this fall. Just eyeshadows that inspire me to create fall looks. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with the two palettes I have on my eyeballs today. Let me know what you think of this look below. The bulk of the look was created with the Alter Ego Artemis palette. This is a dupe palette for the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette, and to me this is absolutely 100% fall in a palette. When looking at all these palettes today, it was very easy for me to choose this one to put on my eyes. I do have videos relating to a lot of these palettes, so any relating videos I will go ahead and link in the description box in case you want inspiration or just see my thoughts on some of these palettes. But the greens and the yellows call to me. Definitely have some beautiful oranges and browns in here. There are cream to powder shadows in this palette, which is very exciting. It's the first time that Alter Ego has created a dupe palette that had an actual cream to powder formula, which is very similar to the cream to powder formula in the Natasha Denona palettes that they are duping. I will say that Natasha Denona is definitely better than Alter Ego, but Natasha Denona is not in everyone's price range, and so I think these palettes from Alter Ego, these are a fantastic option for anyone. Even if you're not for sure, I bought this because I wasn't for sure if I would actually use the Metropolis palette, and I've now found that I'm happy enough with this one in this color story to not buy the $129 Metropolis palette, because while I will use this, it's not going to be like an everyday palette that I will get a lot of use out of. So here are some of the shades that I'm wearing today. This is one of the metallics, this is a cream to powder, and this is a matte. And I just love this beautiful olivey green here from the palette. I have that over most of the lid, but the pop, the bright shade on my lid comes from this palette from Juvia's Place. This is the Saharan, and no word of a lie, this was the first time that I dipped into this palette today. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I do think in the back of my mind I was equating this palette as a color story that I wanted to use during the fall, so I did go ahead and use this beautiful limey greeny shade today. It's absolutely stunning. Juvia's Place totally knocks it out of the park when it comes to their shimmer shades, and I think that's what is inspiring to me in this palette. You've got peach, you've got cranberry, you've got teal, you've got green. I love that it includes a black in here for deepening up any look, because these are all in the mid to light range in terms of tone. I love the mattes that they have to offer in here. I'm always happy when the Juvia's Place adds a neutral, because I do really like starting off with a neutral most of the time in my crease, as well as you get this bright orange and this gorgeous bright red. So for me, this is a really well-rounded palette, and I think it has all the inspiration that I need for fall. Another palette that's kind of like that Juvia's Place palette that I was kind of like in my mind saving for fall. Not that I won't use them, but in my mind I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to like use that all through the fall, which fall is very short here, but you know, the calendar fall, that is. And that is the ABH Jackie Aina palette. I will say that at the time that I'm filming this, all of these palettes are still available. I had a couple on the list that I found out were no longer available. So I wanted to keep it to palettes that you could still get your hands on in case any of these color stories do inspire you. But this is the palette that I wore in my recent video where I got ready with the makeup that I missed during my move that was all packed up for a while, and I love this story for fall. To me, this screams fall. Now, if you take out some of these bright shades, I think you just have a really nice neutral palette, but even the neutrals are very, very rich in tone, like this shade Edges here, or this shade up here called Credit, which is kind of like a plummy brown, as well as all the fantastic shimmers that are in here. I think the pinks are really nice. I especially like this shade called Pinker because it's a little bit closer to a berry tone. And of course, the shimmers are absolutely phenomenal in here. The only one I'm not a huge fan of, or at least I have to be in the mood for it, is this one right here called Soleil. No, Zam. And that's because it's a little glittery, it's a little flaky, and so it is something that if I want to wear that, which I do, I have to prepare my lids with like a glitter glue, maybe consider either putting a cotton pad under my eye to catch fallout or doing eyes first, which is not something I typically do. But color story is amazing for fall. And as far as red shadows go, I'm not a big fan of wearing red on my eyes, but this is a really nice one. Kind of blends into a little bit of a rust color, and so it makes it a lot more wearable. Also, let me know down in the comments below if there's any of these palettes today that you'd like to see in a Get Ready With Me, or like to see me create some looks with this fall. If you need some inspiration, I'm here for you. Next is my all-time eyeshadow favorite formula. Wait, that came out wrong. Next is my all-time favorite eyeshadow formula, hands down. The first palette was spectacular, and the second palette, which I'm talking about today, did not disappoint, and that is the Persona Identity 2 palette. For me, this screams fall, not only because of the richness of the colors, but also because it's airing more in the medium to dark tones in this palette, excepting these two up here. And for me, as I move into fall, I'm definitely looking to get a little bit more dramatic with my makeup, whether that's through bold colors or just deeper tones, something rich, maybe a little smoky, and this palette does it all. I just can't get over how much I love both of the Persona palettes because this formula is spectacular. It is without a doubt the best and most easy, most user-friendly eyeshadow formula that I have ever used. Here are a few of my favorites in here. You've got a beautiful raspberry shade, this really rich, warm, chocolatey brown, and then this really beautiful matte terracotta shade, which really warms things up in the crease no matter what you intend to put on the lid. I also love that they included in here not only a cream colored matte, but also a mid to deep brown and a black. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of deepening things up in the fall, and black can really help you to transform other shades in the palette to make them deeper. You can mix it, or you can just add a little black in the very outer corner. You can use it as a liner. And while I don't think all palettes need to have a black and a cream color, it makes the palette a little bit more versatile for me because I can lighten shades or I can darken them. Not that I can't reach into other palettes. I do tend to be one, though, that mostly reaches into one palette at a time, excepting today, of course. The last and most important reason why I love the Persona Identity 2 palette is I think that these are kind of some fun, unexpected colors for fall. I think when we think fall greens, we think something like this, like an army green or a khaki green or an olive green, but you might not think of emerald green, for example. Same with yellow. You might be expecting something more mustard or what have you, but this real true yellow shimmer is absolutely stunning. It's really pretty over the green. The raspberry in here, the denim blue is super fun, and I think that this palette is a little bit unexpected, but totally appropriate for fall. Next is a palette that I admittedly have not used a ton, but again, I have it in my mind that I wanted to use this palette this fall, or I kind of like made a mental note that in fall I wanted to make sure to pull this palette and do some looks with it. It is the Juvia's Place Nubian 3 Coral palette, and it has a fantastic blend of cool and warm tones. I love playing with contrast with shadows, where I would do a really beautiful warm crease and then throw a silver on the lid, because I just think the more contrast you have in an eye look, the more interesting it is, the more eye-catching it is, and that's what I like about this palette. But I also really love the tones of the coral that they have in this palette. They have varying tones of coral, but they also have some really beautiful, warm, rich browns that support the coral color to make them less summer and more fall, in my opinion. And overall, I just think this is a really well-balanced palette. Here are a couple of the shimmers. Here's that bright silver. Down here in the bottom row, you have this beautiful sort of peachy, I don't know, it's definitely kind of a duochrome. I want to say it's peach with an orange flip, but maybe that doesn't make sense. And then you have this really rich, deep brown, which I could just see all over the lid and blended up in the crease with one of the lighter coral tones. So I'm definitely looking forward to using this fall, and just try and stop me. One of the palettes that I think so many people were like, yeah, perfect for summer, love summer, came out in summer. But for me, I'm just as excited to use this palette this fall, and that is the Natasha Denona Bronze palette. To me, this is just as much fall for me, this is just as much fall as it is summer. I just think, you know, you have this true copper shade, you have a really rich bricky red and a shimmer to go with it. You have golds to pair in there. You have these couple cool tones, which again, I love mixing warm and cool tones to add interest to the eye, but you can also deepen things up, make some of these other colors feel and look a little bit more rich on the eyes, a little deeper, less summer, more fall. I just love this palette. I think there's just so much you could do with this that would read fall, and so I kind of added this one in not only to remind you guys, if you already have this palette, but also myself, that this palette, while I think designed to be for the summer, absolutely can transition into fall beautifully. Next, from Natasha Denona, I chose the Lila palette, I'll never know how to say it. And that is, these are absolutely 100% beautiful tones for fall. Now, I also tend to reach for this palette in the springtime, but I really love this palette for fall, and it adds some different tones in here with the purples and the pinks for me that I don't tend to gravitate to for fall, or really at all, if I'm being honest. But combined with this other half of the palette that is very warm and rich, and these mattes read very deep. You have an orange up here that has kind of like a pinky gold flip, which is really beautiful for fall. So I think sometimes it's interesting to sort of deconstruct or dissect a palette by, you know, covering certain things up, and then you end up with a really neutral palette. But then you can kind of see, you know, if you cover these up, how you might incorporate them into looks with these, you know, sort of standard fall colors. So I'm definitely looking forward to using this one. One shade that I really haven't used a lot is this one right here called Snakebite. It is one of her duochrome shades, but it's kind of the most interesting duochrome shade that I have tried. It's got a red, sort of a red burgundy base, and then it has a green flip to it. for me, when I tend to use these kind of duochromes, I don't know, it tends to expose more of the base pigment. And I don't love red on my eyes, as I've already said multiple times. So what I need to do is find something to either layer this over or some supporting shades for the crease and the transition, what have you. There you can see the green flip pretty well, that I can pair with this shadow to make it more wearable for my preferences. So let me know if you want to see me figure that out at some point, but Lila I think is perfect for fall. Last Natasha Denona palette for this video is one that you probably haven't, no, not even probably, you haven't seen me use on my channel, though I think I mentioned that I was going to purchase it, and that is the Viva palette. Very neutral, but a really nice amount of warm tone neutrals in here. You've got a little cool section here in the bottom row, which again, I love to add to warmer looks for interest, or set up a look as a cool look and then use like a warm tone to add interest. I love the cream to powder shadows in here. They are Rayon, Tone, Tour, and Spot. I love her cream to powder formula. It's simply amazing. It works great as a liner, looks great as a base. You can go in very lightly and blend it out, and it diffuses beautifully. So this is one that I reach for a ton already for an everyday basis, but it still feels fall without being a palette like the Alter Ego Metropolis dupe, where you just have endless options, green, yellow, pink, the whole thing. This is very fall to me. It's very everyday. It's very timeless in my opinion, which is part of why I purchased it. But I just love these tones. I love these kind of peachy shades right here. Love this mustard called Prairie, and I've got to swatch the metallics for you. So here you have Monroe, Shine, and Rustic. And these are absolutely stunning. To me, this is like the perfect trifecta of metallic shades for me, especially for a neutral palette. You have a beautiful pinky champagne color, a nice light gold that's not too yellow, as well as this beautiful, rich, warm bronze shade that I love as a one shadow look. So for me, I mean, I could just knock out one after the other of fall looks with this palette. And then lastly, but not leastly, one palette I think that just did not get its day in the sun, possibly related to how it was released with other new releases, possibly just because it's too big or too colorful, but I immediately think of this palette in my collection when I think of fall, and it is actually fall inspired. So this is the ABH Norvina collection volume 3 palette. Love the butterflies on this beautiful orange packaging. And then boom, see what I'm saying? I think a lot of people would get overwhelmed with this palette, but there's a lot of rich, you know, sort of fall tones in here, especially within the mattes, that I think are absolutely stunning. And I think they make the palette more wearable, and then you can sort of have fun experimenting with some of these brighter shades. Also think this would be great for summer, but for me, I immediately think of this. This was probably the first palette that I thought of when I started, you know, conceptualizing this video. And this one's just great. I absolutely love it. I think this Norvina formula that we saw in the 4 different volumes that she's put out is a really phenomenal formula. Brain fart. So just wanted to make mention of this one. And again, if you see any palettes in this video that you would like to see a fall look with, or there's some kind of inspiration you would like me to use using one of these palettes, just let me know. I am curious what palettes you think of when you think of fall. What palettes are you looking forward to that are already in your collection that you're going to pull back out for fall? I really love hearing from you guys down in the comments. I hope you're all staying safe and well, and I hope you guys are enjoying the new beauty room as much as I am. I did notice that there was some sound that picked up on my mic in my first video in the beauty room. It was the ceiling fan, so I have it lower today. Hopefully the mic is not picking it up. I just ask that you bear with me while I figure this all out. I think the lighting is actually phenomenal. You can see, well, I don't have highlighter on today. This is a blush, but you can actually see things better, I think. And before I predominantly used natural lighting and stuff, but now I have umbrella lights that are actually shining on me from in front of me and the whole thing. That was the longest outro ever. Love you guys. I hope all your makeup days are absolutely beautiful makeup days. I hope you're staying safe and well, and I will see you in my next video real soon.